Yo, hoop fans, your sideline sage, Tips and Upstreams, is lacing up once again. On deck, deep dives into the freshest NBA clashes, ready to set the planks ablaze. But before we jump the ball, be sure to hammer that subscribe on our YouTube channel to keep hooked with our sharp forecasts and prime selections. All right, let's bounce into today's NBA Crystal Ball reads. The first prediction for today is for the game between Atlanta Hawks and Brooklyn Nets. In the electric atmosphere of Barclays Center, a captivating NBA showdown is on the horizon as the Atlanta Hawks, who have stumbled to a 26-33 win-loss tally and have struggled with a 19-40 record against the spread, are gearing up to reverse their fortunes following a 124-97 setback against the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets, holding a 23-36 record and a 26-33 mark against the spread, are poised to protect their home court and aim to widen their lead in the season series to 3-1 over the Hawks. This clash is more than a mere game. It's a saga of seeking redemption, tactical warfare, and the unyielding pursuit of triumph. A dive into the Hawks' recent form reveals a team grappling with adversity, especially in the absence of Trae Young. Their offensive woes were glaring in their last matchup, with a dismal 28.6% from three-point land and a 43.0% overall shooting percentage. Despite being ranked 11th in offensive efficiency, their struggles have been pronounced, particularly in scoring inside the paint and their dependency on offensive boards, a domain where they've previously shined. Defensively, the Hawks are lagging at 28th, with a defense that's been too generous, conceding an average of 122.9 points per game, the second highest in the league. Yet, their ability to provoke turnovers, ranked 8th, offers a glimmer of hope, though it's been sporadically effective. Conversely, the Brooklyn Nets have displayed grit. Despite their average 19th place in defensive efficiency, they've effectively stifled the Hawks' offensive threats. The anticipated return of Cam Thomas and Ben Simmons could enhance both their offensive and defensive game plans. Brooklyn's efficiency from beyond the arc, shooting an impressive 47.8% in their recent game, stands in stark contrast to their 20th-ranked offense. Their tactical approach to minimizing turnovers and maximizing offensive rebounds lays the groundwork for continuous pressure on the Hawks. Looking at the team's recent encounters at Barclays Center, a discernible pattern seems to favor the Nets, particularly with their emphatic win in the last matchup. The Hawks' current struggles, marked by inefficiencies and significant player absences, are in stark contrast to the Nets' potential strength and tactical understanding. Thus, the forecast tips favor the Brooklyn Nets not just to clinch the victory, but also to beat the 2.5-point spread. The balance of defensive and offensive statistics, coupled with the Nets' home court edge and their recent supremacy, supports this outcome. The Hawks' offensive inconsistencies and defensive shortcomings further sway the prediction toward Brooklyn. With the total points line set at 221, considering the last game's output and both teams' scoring trends, the projection also leans towards a higher scoring game than predicted. The Nets' enhanced offense and the Hawks' potential for a comeback, even without Young, indicate a game ripe for scoring, driven by Brooklyn's efficient offense and Atlanta's determination to retaliate. My prediction is for the Brooklyn Nets to secure the win and cover the spread, with an additional expectation for the total points to surpass the 221 threshold. This matchup promises to showcase Brooklyn's strategic depth and Atlanta's quest for redemption, making for a compelling basketball narrative. The next prediction for today is for the game between Utah Jazz and Miami Heat. On a mesmerizing Saturday afternoon, the Utah Jazz are gearing up to battle the Miami Heat at the Kaseya Center, coming off a hard-fought loss to the Orlando Magic. The Heat are also looking to bounce back after falling to the Denver Nuggets, making for an electrifying showdown with Miami stepping into the ring as the favorite. The Jazz have hit a rough patch on the road, highlighted by a 115-107 defeat at the hands of Orlando. Despite a valiant effort from John Collins, Keontae George, and Colin Sexton, each netting 19 points, and Lauri Markkanen adding 18, the absence of Walker Kessler's defensive mastery was glaring. Missing Kessler, Utah's rebounding and defense took a hit, a sore spot considering their 1-7 record in recent games, showcasing a tough stretch post-All-Star break. While they shine from beyond the arc and on the boards, the Jazz are up against it in defensive scoring, shooting defense, and notably three-point shot defense, ranking low across the board. On the flip side, the Miami Heat, despite a stumble against the Nuggets, have shown grit and depth, nearly erasing a hefty fourth-quarter deficit. Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler have been shining lights in scoring, even with significant players sidelined by injuries. The Heat boast a formidable defense, excelling in scoring defense, with their three-point and shooting defenses also holding their own. Their knack for holding onto the ball and cutting down on turnovers has been key, a vital part of their strategy that could tip the scales in this clash. Looking back at recent face-offs in Miami, these two teams have given us edge-of-the-seat entertainment, with home court often tipping the balance. This history, combined with the current form and stats, calls for a deep dive. The Jazz, with their defensive issues, particularly against the three-point shot, and a fast-paced game that hasn't been paying off, are up against a tough opponent in the Heat. Miami's balanced attack, with stout defense and thoughtful offense, gives them the edge, especially with their strong home game and the Jazz's road woes. Injuries add an unpredictable twist, with the Jazz missing a key defender in Kessler and the Heat potentially down several important players. These gaps could shift the game's flow, affecting Utah's defense and Miami's offensive choices. With all factors considered, the stats, the history in Miami, and both teams' recent forms, the scales tilt towards a Miami Heat win. Their defensive strength, coupled with the Jazz's defensive issues and the strategic hurdles Utah faces on the road, suggests Miami has the upper hand. The Heat's control over the game's tempo and their three-point accuracy are likely to be decisive. Moreover, the game's total points are expected to top the 226.5 mark, given the Jazz's up-tempo style and Miami's efficient play. The Miami Heat are currently on fire, hitting their peak performance of the season as they're regaining their full strength, with the potential bonus of Tyler Herro's comeback. Meanwhile, the Utah Jazz seems to be in a bit of a nosedive, showing a lack of defensive prowess and only managing a 3-7 record against the spread in their recent 10 matchups. The Jazz seem to be on a fast track to nowhere. Despite this, the Heat tend to adjust their game level to match that of their opponents, often letting lesser teams stay in the mix longer than expected. The Heat have a knack for making games more thrilling than necessary, seldom securing wins with a wide margin. Considering this, I'm leaning towards taking the points for the Jazz in this away game. The next prediction for today is for the game between Portland Trailblazers and Memphis Grizzlies. As the Portland Trailblazers gear up to clash with the Memphis Grizzlies, this showdown promises to be a spectacle for several compelling reasons, with the current momentum of both squads being a focal point. The Blazers, hungry for a turnaround after a disheartening series of defeats, dropping 9 out of their last 10, are coming off recent setbacks against the Hornets and Heat, yet they clinched a win against the Grizzlies themselves. They've been netting an average of 107.2 points on 43.8% accuracy from the field, while giving up 116.3 points on a generous 49.6% shooting to their adversaries. Despite battling injury woes, including key players like Scoot Henderson and DeAndre Ayton riding the pine, Portland has displayed tenacity. Jerami Grant has notably risen to the occasion, pouring in 21.7 points on 45.3% shooting. Conversely, the Memphis Grizzlies, mired in a 4-game skid, can't afford to overlook their rivals. Scoring an average of 106.4 points on 43.9% shooting and allowing 112.7 points, their performance has taken a hit due to injuries plaguing stars such as Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and, more recently, Jaren Jackson Jr., who was on a tear with 25.1 points on 44.4% shooting in his last 9 appearances before getting sidelined. Statistically, both teams are in a tight spot on both ends of the court, languishing at the league's lower echelons in several key metrics. The Grizzlies rank last in points per game and field goal percentage, while the Blazers struggle with assists per game and points in the paint. This scenario depicts two teams scrambling to regain their footing and consistency. In previous encounters in the host city, the battles have been fiercely competitive, with home turf advantage often tipping the scales. Yet, with both rosters decimated by injuries, the outcome might hinge on depth and bench contributions. The Blazers' failure to secure consecutive victories since early November, coupled with a grim 6-22 record on the road, spells trouble for them. Given the Grizzlies' marginally better competitive stance this season and their eagerness to rebound from recent downturns, they have a slight upper hand, more so on their home court. The sidelining of pivotal players for both teams renders the prediction challenging, but Memphis's recent track record of covering the spread in 5 out of their last 6 matchups underscores their resilience. Factoring in the injury landscape and recent form, the match is expected to be a defensive grind, making a bet on the under for a 209.5 total points margin appear judicious. Nevertheless, the Grizzlies, despite being shorthanded, have demonstrated determination and are favored to overcome the 1.5-point spread, driven by the resolve to halt their losing streak and exploit the Blazers' road vulnerabilities. To sum up, anticipate a nail-biter where Memphis musters just enough mettle and squad depth to secure a win over Portland. While both teams are in dire straits, the Grizzlies' superior performance indicators and home court leverage should propel them to cover the spread. My wager is on the Memphis Grizzlies to triumph and beat the spread, with total points likely falling under the 209.5 benchmark. The next prediction for today is for the game between Denver Nuggets and Los Angeles Lakers. Tonight's showdown takes the Denver Nuggets head-to-head with the Los Angeles Lakers, sparking a game filled with anticipation and playoff dreams. Riding high on a stellar 5-game win streak, the Nuggets are showing formidable form, having conquered teams such as the Wizards, Trailblazers, Warriors, Kings, and Heat. They've been lighting up the scoreboard with an average of 114.4 points on a sharpshooting 49.2% from the field, while locking down their defense to allow only 110.2 points on 46.4% shooting. Nikola Jokic is leading the charge with a dominant average of 25.8 points and 12.3 rebounds, with Jamal Murray adding a solid 20.5 points and 3.8 rebounds per game. Yet, whispers of uncertainty hover over Murray's playtime, potentially shifting the game's momentum. On the flip side, the Lakers have been on a roll, clinching 6 wins in their last 8 outings. They've celebrated victories over the likes of the Clippers and Wizards, boasting an average of 117.2 points on 49.6% shooting, while slightly trailing with 117.6 points allowed on 47.3% shooting. LeBron James and Anthony Davis are at the top of their game, each averaging over 25 points, turning the Lakers into an offensive juggernaut. Diving into the numbers, the Nuggets' field goal efficiency and their knack for stifling opponents' scores shine through. However, the Lakers' prowess in offensive rebounds and three-pointers, even as they rank 30th in attempts, might just crack the Nuggets' defensive shell, especially from the three-point line where the Nuggets are letting opponents hit 36.3%. Historic home court advantage is pivotal in these clashes. With the Lakers hosting, they snag the psychological upper hand, further boosted by LeBron's age-defying surge in performance. Jamal Murray's potential absence could tilt the balance towards the Lakers, who have consistently shown grit and a flair for clutch victories. Injuries are game changers, and Murray's potential sideline could dramatically alter the game's dynamics. With their roster and recent streak, the Lakers seem ready to capitalize on any Nuggets slip-ups. Looking at past encounters in this city and weighing the statistical edges, the scales tip in favor of the Lakers. Their offensive firepower, coupled with the home court boon and possible Nuggets key player absences, suggests the Lakers are likely to not only win, but also beat the spread. With a total points line set at 229.5, an over seems enticing, given both teams' scoring prowess and recent performances. This bout is set for a tight contest, yet with the Lakers' home advantage, LeBron's stellar form, and potential Nuggets lineup woes, the Lakers are poised to win and to beat the spread. The scoring abilities of both squads hint at surpassing the total points threshold, making an over bet a solid choice. In summary, while the Nuggets have the paper edge and could potentially dominate, expecting them to bring the same intensity as recent matchups might be misplaced. The Lakers seem less likely to ignite that level of motivation in the Nuggets. This is the core reason I'm banking on the Lakers to triumph and cover the spread. The last prediction for today is for the game between Houston Rockets and Phoenix Suns. Tonight's lineup delivers a thrilling showdown as the Houston Rockets roll into Phoenix to take on the Suns. The Rockets, caught in a tough 3-game slide, are set to face a Suns team riding high on the wave of success, having clinched victories in 7 of their recent 10 encounters. This matchup promises an electrifying rematch, especially considering the Rockets' gritty display in their last narrow defeat to the Suns, signaling a potential for intense competition. The Rockets are putting up an average of 112.7 points on a 45.6% shooting spree, while their defense concedes 113.1 points on a 46% shooting by their opponents. Players like Alperen Sengun and Jalen Green have been hitting their stride consistently, though the team's sharp shooting, particularly their 34.7% from the three-point line, could use some firepower. Their road game record is less than stellar at 524, showcasing the uphill battle they face on unfamiliar courts. Nevertheless, their dynamic rally in the second quarter of the last game against the Suns, spearheaded by Green's precision from downtown, hints at their hidden capacity for a surprise. Conversely, the Suns have been dominant, averaging 117.4 points on a robust 49.4% shooting, with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker leading the charge. Their 37.7% success rate from beyond the arc and 80.6% from the free throw line have significantly contributed to their winning formula. However, a notable dip in their shooting efficiency in the latter halves could present the Rockets with an opportunity to turn the tables. Reviewing their recent matchups in Phoenix, it's evident the Suns have had the edge, particularly with their 9th straight victory over the Rockets in Arizona. But the Rockets' fighting spirit, especially in their latest clash, suggests a possible change in the wind. The injury roster and key player duels will be critical, with both squads navigating through notable absences and depending on their bench strength. Given the Suns' sharp three-point shooting and efficient scoring juxtaposed against the Rockets' shooting struggles and road game blues, the Suns are the favorites. Yet, the Rockets have demonstrated they can hold their ground against the Suns, potentially beating the 9.5-point spread. The deciding factors will hinge on the Rockets enhancing their shooting efficiency and seizing upon any defensive oversights by the Suns. With the Rockets' recent upswing and the Suns potentially eyeing their next major matchup, the Rockets stand a real shot at keeping the game tight. Injuries and the Suns' bench depth will be key, yet the Rockets' resolve, particularly from talents like Green and Sengun, is formidable. If the Rockets can capitalize on their free throw precision and keep turnovers low, they're well positioned to challenge the spread, setting the stage for a much closer game than anticipated. Summing up, while the Suns are poised to clinch the victory with their stellar record and home advantage, the Rockets' tenacity and potential for an uptick in shooting efficiency signal a closely knit battle. It's anticipated that the Rockets will not only contest vigorously, but also beat the spread, riding on their recent competitive zeal and the Suns' occasional dips in the second half. I'm placing my chips on the Houston Rockets to beat the 9.5-point spread.